Welcome to this explainer. If you're the kind of focused learner who absolutely loves unpacking complex systems just to see how they actually work on the ground, well, you are in exactly the right place today. We're looking at Hawaii's really transformative approach to correctional education. We're going to explore how the state is completely rethinking the time people spend in custody. They're shifting the focus from just, simply serving time to actively building a firm foundation for a successful return to society. It's a fascinating look at how structured learning can impact an entire community.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this question is the absolute high-stakes hook that drives Hawaii's entire philosophy. What is the single best way to prepare someone for life after incarceration? It's a massive challenge, right? When someone's sentence is finally up, how do we make sure they have the real-world tools to survive, to thrive, and to contribute, rather than just falling back into old patterns? Well, the answer, as we'll see from the data and the programs today, heavily involves targeted, highly practical education. You see, the Hawaii Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, or DCR for short, operates on a very practical reality. Most of the people currently in their custody are eventually going to return home. They're literally going to be our neighbors again. And because of this, their educational programs aren't just designed to pass the time. The whole system actively emphasizes re-entry, self-improvement, and community healing. The overarching goal is to take that time spent inside a facility and use it to better prepare folks for the exact day they walk back out those doors.
And this brilliantly illustrates our central metaphor for today. Correctional education is framed here as a strategic bridge. It's an absolutely vital public safety imperative. If we just look at classes inside a facility as some extra service, like a perk just to fill empty hours, we completely miss the massive potential for real rehabilitation. By treating education as a strategic bridge, Hawaii is actively investing in a more stable and secure future. And that's not just for the incarcerated individual, but for the entire state.
Section 1. Prisons versus jails. Structural realities.
To truly understand how the system operates, we've got to zoom in on the structural realities. It's kind of like a giant puzzle, because not every incarcerated person has the same amount of time or even the same needs. In jails, the populations turn over incredibly quickly. Folks might be there for less than a year, so the focus has to be on short-term, immediate reentry support. Prisons, on the other hand, house individuals for much longer stretches. That allows the system to offer broader access to multi-year certifications and full-on academic degrees. You just can't use a one-size-fits-all curriculum when the timeline of your students varies so drastically.
A really perfect example of this adaptable pragmatism is the Oahu Community Correctional Center, or OCC. It's the state's largest jail facility, and they have to pull off this intense balancing act. They're managing pre-trial detainees who might only be there for a blink, right alongside sentenced felons who need targeted reintegration services. Because of this really quick turnover, the jail programs at OCC have to be incredibly short, flexible, and practical. Even a brief course in digital skills or job readiness is perfectly designed to reduce the immediate barriers these folks are going to face the second they return home.
Section 2. Literacy to college. Educational programs.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Starting right at the foundation, Hawaii offers statewide access to adult basic education, along with high school equivalency testing, like the GED and HiSET. But it definitely doesn't stop at just traditional academics. They also bring in web-based learning tools to teach essential life skills. We're talking money management, computer literacy, basic work skills. For a lot of individuals, these statewide offerings form those crucial first steps toward rebuilding their confidence and their overall capabilities.
But wait, actually, scratch that. Education isn't just about math and reading here. The DCR also focuses heavily on holistic development. They're offering cognitive skills training, parenting courses, and even yoga. Now you might be wondering, yoga? Really? Yes, absolutely. Because these non-traditional classes are deeply educational in a much broader sense. They teach emotional regulation, discipline, and better decision-making. Those are habits that are absolutely essential for maintaining long-term stability once they're back in the community.
Building on that solid foundation, we reach higher education. This quote perfectly captures the real value here. College access inside correctional facilities can help people build credentials that are useful immediately after release. Through amazing opportunities like the Second Chance Pell Grants, Hawaii has forged some really powerful partnerships with institutions like Chaminade University and Windward Community College. So eligible participants can actually earn an associate's degree or a credit-bearing certification while they are still inside. That's a real game changer.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer real-world application. In 2025, The DCR reported that over 35 inmates were actively enrolled in college programs, specifically with Windward Community College and Chaminade University, right inside the Halawa Correctional Facility. That is a substantial number of individuals actively working toward higher education degrees that are going to dramatically change their employment prospects the minute they're released.
And we're not just talking about abstract programs on paper here. They are generating concrete, recent successes. In 2025, the department celebrated some major milestones. This included GED graduations at the Kulani Correctional Facility, right alongside those college achievements happening over at Halawa. These milestones are proof positive that the system is functioning exactly as intended, actively supporting so much more than just basic literacy.
Section 3. Career Pathways and Reentry. Workforce Pathways.
So how do these academic milestones translate into the real world when someone actually walks out the gate? Well, the DCR places a massive focus on workforce readiness. At Halawa Correctional Facility, for instance, there's an American Job Center program that gives them targeted job search assistance. They also offer career technical training across the system. We really have to remember that Hawaii has an incredibly high cost of living. Securing stable employment is notoriously difficult for anyone, and for someone re-entering society with a record, it's even harder. These career-focused credentials are for sure the most critical step in a successful re-entry.
Now, it's super important to be objective here and caution against overgeneralizing. This is a very layered, complex network. Not every single person in custody gets immediate access to a college degree or a specialized career program. Program access depends heavily on the specific facility, the individual's security level, available staffing, funding limits, and pretty strict eligibility rules. So it's a web of opportunities that varies a lot from location to location, rather than just a single uniform curriculum guaranteed for everyone.
Section 4. Public Safety and Beyond. Community Impact.
So, the crucial point is how this clear rehabilitation theory maps out. First, you provide education and credentials. Second, that directly leads to stable employment and much better decision-making skills. Third, and this is the big one for the public, that results in reduced recidivism, meaning fewer people are re-offending and returning to the system, which creates actual community healing. It completely reframes education. It's not just a rehabilitation issue for the individual, it is a direct, highly effective public safety strategy for the entire state.
But looking forward, there are some very real practical challenges. The road ahead for Hawaii requires expanding usable facility space for classrooms. It requires increasing safe technology access so folks can use modern web-based learning tools. It means managing constant staffing needs, and perhaps most vitally, it requires ensuring that classroom learning actually connects to real, available jobs in the local economy. These are the practical, sustainable expansion challenges the state is actively trying to navigate right now, especially in those shorter-term jail settings.
Ultimately, Hawaii is taking a very cautious, highly practical, but deeply hopeful approach. Just take a second and think about your own community ties. The people leaving these facilities, they are returning to your neighborhoods, they're returning to their families, and they're entering your local workforce. By providing education inside custody, the state is making sure that these individuals return with credentials, with confidence, and just fundamentally better prepared to be productive members of society.
Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought. The foundation has been laid, the programs are showing incredible success, from literacy all the way up to college degrees, but the work is never really finished. How will we, as a society, continue to build and strengthen these bridges for those returning home? It's a huge question, and one that impacts every single one of us. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this explainer today, and keep asking those big questions.